Radiant team ban.
Alright everybody, welcome back to the Netolic Raid Call Pro League West Division Grand Final. And it's been about a month since we started this tournament. In fact, it's been a month and 4 days. We started on April the 1st, and here we are, May the 5th, concluding out our tournament with this best of 5 series.
Remaining.
North America versus South America. Dust Gaming versus Artyk,
5
two very
seconds
strong
remaining.
teams. Dust Gaming with a 1-game advantage coming out of the winner's bracket. Artyk, of course, equalizing it, now 1-1. And I'm very excited to see the second game. I am Vikramond. I've been your caster through basically every single game of this tournament except the ones that have been at the same time. And most of the time I've been joined by my co-caster El Presidente, and I am right now. How you doing, man?
Dire team ban.
I am doing great, and it is in fact most of the time because I am sometimes very flaky.
I wasn't going to say that. I wasn't going to say
Dire
that.
team pick.
So,
Well, anyways,
Dust
Batrider.
Gaming. They had a lot of trouble game one. A lot. What do they need to change up?
Well, honestly, I'm surprised that Artyk banned with the Lifestealer because they did so well with it in that last set. But for Dust, it's really coming down to execution for me. I feel like they can draft really well. That said, Classic is now doing the draft instead of Jan like he did in the last match.
Interesting. They changed drafters. Yeah, it's a good call.
So
10
that could mean that
seconds
they're going for a
remaining.
different type of strategy here.
Now, Classic is their usual drafter,
5
so he is their
seconds
team
remaining.
captain, I believe, and their typical drafter. Maybe they just tried to do something a little different, and they weren't happy with how it worked out. Magnus and Nyx Assassins, so
Radiant
the
team-
standardist standards that you can have, and I feel like the Nyx worked pretty well for them last game, actually. The Nyx worked
I
out.
agree.
Team pick.
I agree, but so far, these first 4 picks are about as stock as you can get.
Yeah.
There is nothing that can be said that hasn't been said a million times over about these 4
I can
heroes.
I can venture some stuff. So 2 things leap out at me about these picks. One is that Magnus is
10
not typically the
seconds
sort of
remaining.
mid-hero that Ush likes to play. So we have a player here who's...
5
I like to talk a lot
5
about how
seconds
Magnus is a different
remaining.
style of hero from the one that many solo mid players really favor.
Dire team
And
pick.
Ush is definitely sort of your classic solo mid in that he wants to get a lot of kills, he wants to be roaming around the map, and Magnus is just a little bit different. It's more about tactical use of that RP in perfect situations and just setting up team fights for your team and just patiently grinding out a win. It's rare that you see sort of just an explosive Magnus game where he's just everywhere all of the time and getting kills. It happens, but it's just not that common. And so we'll have to see the adjustment to
10
playing that Magnus. I'm sure he's played him a ton just because of the prevalence of the metagame.
Radiant
We'll have to
team
see if
ban.
his style gels with that. The other thing, of course, is Rubik for Mystico, and this is probably his #1 best hero, in addition to having just a wealth of things to steal on this Dust Gaming roster.
I completely agree. I don't think we've really seen Ush play the Magnus too much this tournament. The match that he's proven to be the most successful were definitely the ones where he managed to get those high value, high aggression oriented heroes like the Queen of Pain, like the Storm Spirit. So a little bit interesting. That said, Clockwork is probably going to mean they're going to run an off lane.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Unless, and this is a really strange way to do it, they run Clockwork as a tri-lane farmer, they use Nyx Assassin and another support to set up Cogs and Battery Assault, which we've already discovered does a ridiculous amount of damage.
Sure.
Magnus off lane, Ush gets a mid, but that would really kind of put a damper on Dust's ability to carry.
Right, and the nice thing about this Dust Gaming lineup is that it is quite lane flexible. I mean, we've even seen Clockwork mid. It's not likely that we'll see it. He would get destroyed by a Batrider, but the point is, they do have some different configurations that they can run these heroes in, and that might be very useful for them. Of course, the traditional approach is good too. I mean, just Clockwork on the hard, and then Nyx Assassin as the support, and Magnus as the mid. That's the traditional lineup, but the fact that they can switch it up is something that Artyk will have to keep in mind. And Artyk, I feel like they're very comfortable with their heroes so far too. The Batrider Classic, definitely something Smash likes to play, and the Rubik and Nature's Prophet, I mean, they're almost the stock heroes for Mystico and
10
Mihawk. They don't have any
seconds
more
remaining.
played heroes than these, at least at the professional level.
I feel
5 seconds remaining.
that if Wisp wasn't banned up with Dust, that Dust could have picked it up themselves.
Reserve
And
time.
it's really interesting to see how a European Western scene. This isn't European anymore. It's all America.
Western, yeah.
Western, America's scene, a Western scene, plays up against an Eastern scene. You don't really see the Wisp favored at all by by Eastern teams, outside
Right.
of like a couple of pocket picks like VG. So,
Teams will do it. Netolic SG will do it as well.
but it's very rare to see it,
It's rare.
and its effectiveness has been fairly mixed as well.
Yes.
And this is by virtue of the playstyle. Generally, in a Western scene right now, 5-manning happens later, which means Wisp has a larger period of time to take advantage of individual movement
Right.
with Chaos Knight or Tiny or what have you.
Right.
So it's an interesting comparison.
Definitely.
All things considered, for Dust, they got to be looking at picking up a strong carry that works well with Magnus
Yes.
and doesn't get really hurt by Clockwork. Right, because we do have carries that have issues working with Clockwork in the same team, just because of the costs.
Absolutely. I mean, even heroes like Lifestealer is banned out in this case, but certainly some melees will have trouble with it, and we see that final ban out of the Phantom Lancer. I'm smelling an anti-mage. Damn it. I was actually going to say one of these two teams will take anti-mage, and I think it fits better into Dust's lineup, but it fits just fine into Artyk's lineup. Of course, he is able to
I do
escape those
agree.
cogs. He can get in or out of cogs as needed with his Blink utility. He's good on an RP stack, which Artyk could get. I mean, especially if Mystico finds this farm and gets a Blink Dagger or something for Rubik or a Force Staff. He can steal that RP up a bunch of Dust Gaming heroes, and Anti-Mage Mana Voids the
10
stack. And
seconds
depending
remaining.
on what Dust Gaming have drafted, that could be a huge deal. So the Anti-Mage
5
drafted up for
seconds
Iwo.
remaining.
He's a player we know loves to farm. If he gets that fast Battle Fury,
Reserve
that could be
time.
very fearsome in the late game. And with heroes like Luna, Lone Druid, PL taken out, what do you think Dust Gaming respond with for their number one? I really feel like they wanted that Anti-Mage if they could get him. So what does that leave them with?
A couple of carries that I'd love to see, but I won't see. OD. I love him. I think he's actually pretty underestimated against Anti-Mage. As a whole, Anti-Mage doesn't traditionally build BKB, so OD's damage generally unmitigated when up against an Anti-Mage as a whole. So there's that. Also, it gives a lot of empowered damage bonuses. On the more reasonable spectrum, we might see Jug, which is far more likely, like infinitely more likely.
You
We
think
might
Jug
see the
fits into what
Gyrocopter
they're
again.
trying to do here? He can't get into cogs. He does have the healing
He can
ward,
get
but
into
they
cogs.
don't really
He
have a
absolutely
pushing
can.
lineup. Sorry,
You absolutely can get into cogs. You pop ult.
Uh-huh. Oh, you're right, yes.
Silencer.
Silencer. So for the second game in a row, we see Silencer. And do you think this is actually a safe lane carry Silencer this time, or is this a support Silencer, or what?
It's hard to say. Silencer not that good against Anti-Mage. Keep in mind that Silencer will have a ludicrously large mana pool if you were
Yes.
playing him as a carry.
That's true.
And that does not help your team when all of a sudden Silencer and his 1500 mana pool is mana voided.
Well,
And
what do you
just
think about
killed-
this?
10
What do you think the
seconds
purpose of
remaining.
this pick is, then? How does it fit into their plans?
I feel like the plan is to keep
5
Anti-Mage silenced.
5 seconds
Okay.
remaining.
So
That
run
is
it more as
generally
a...
what you want to do when you have a hero named Silencer.
This is always true, but I mean, generally they're going to run it as support. And the main idea is that if they want to do a
10
global...
seconds
they want to make a
remaining.
gank onto Anti-Mage. Silencer, click your silence button, they kill Anti-Mage.
5
Yes, so
seconds
every time they have a
remaining.
global silence, I feel like a gank is very possible on Anti-Mage. Secondly, if he does have something like, for a while, like, ooh, Dazzle.
Team
Huh.
pick.
Dazzle for Artyk. Okay. And Shadow... Wow, this draft went off the rails. These last three picks, I'm reeling a little bit. So Shadow Fiend for the carry, Silencer as a support, so he won't have that huge stack of mana. In fact, they don't have any heroes with a huge stack of mana. Mana Void, not going to be that huge of a deal this game, I would say. Meanwhile,
love-
Dazzle. What is their intention with this Dazzle?
First, I'd just like to say, I just love the speed with which Dust locked in that Shadow Fiend.
Right. Ah, yes, Dazzle. Exactly what we were expecting. Just according to Keikaku. Yeah, right. Yes, that was
Yes,
definitely pretty
exactly. But do think Shadow Fiend's a good counter to Dazzle, just because it does nullify the weave by quite a bit early on.
Prepare for
But
battle.
honestly, for Dazzle, he's a weird laning support. He requires an absurd amount of farm to really get him going.
Well, an absurd amount of farm. I mean, he needs levels, certainly.
Farm and levels. I personally always like to plug in my awful semi-carry Dazzle build, where you just flash farm using Shadow Wave. But
I can't.
It's awful.
I can't buy that. This is the grand finals on Presidente. Get real. No,
it's
we're not having
awful.
this semi-carry Dazzle.
It's actually a lot of... What I really like about it, though, is that's going to amplify Anti-Mage's damage by quite a bit. Weave reduces armor by a substantial amount, and most importantly, Anti-Mage deals primarily... no, I won't plug that one. That's another awful guide. It's Anti-Mage, skip mana break, get Desolator.
30 seconds to
They're going to get Desolator on Mihawk, is what they're really going to do, because Weave will synchronize with, once again, they're going to have 2 carries that deal lots of physical damage. They're just looking to do the same thing, except with a Dazzle helping out from the backcourt. Now let's go ahead and introduce the teams. I will go for... I think you did Artyk last time, so I'll do Artyk this time. You do Dust. Artyk. They've taken the first game of the series. It ties it up 1-1 because Dust had the 1-game advantage going out of the winner's bracket. And here's what they have to share with us. Mystico on his signature Rubik. Mihawk once again on the Nature's Prophet. Masoku on the support Dazzle. Iwo on the Anti-Mage. We'll see what sort of farming tricks he has up his sleeve for this game. And finally, Smash in the middle as the Bat Rider.
On Dust Gaming, we're seeing Classic playing that offlane Clockwork with... Oh, there it is. There's the cog block. Wow, that sounds so much worse saying it out loud. Ush will be playing solo mid on the Magnus, not his traditional hero, and he should have some issues against the Bat Rider. Sna will be playing the Nyx Assassin, and Chim on the Silencer, making up the support pair. And Jan, like January 1st, because otherwise I will pronounce it wrong, is on the Shadow Fiend. And honestly, the fact that Shadow Fiend's already getting uncontested farm is already a good sign for Dust.
Right. I mean, you've got Mihawk. I don't think Mihawk... Nyx Assassin, Silencer, Shadow Fiend. You have to think as soon as Shadow Fiend hits level 2 or 3, this is a pretty dangerous lane for Nature's Prophet to just walk into. He might have to start in the jungle, or do you think he's safe?
No, he shouldn't be anywhere near this lane. He's not going to be able to TP out if the stun goes out and there's not enough damage, because he's going to get silenced.
Right.
He's got to be really careful. This is like a very, very dangerous lane.
If he brings Teleportal Scrolls, do you think he can still get out?
That's it. I personally doubt it, just because the stun from Sna makes it always difficult.
Classic. There could be a little bit of trouble here because Mystico is waiting in the wings with that Rubik. He will have to walk a pretty generous distance, so Classic for now, pretty safe under this tower. I don't know what they plan with this Rubik here. I'm not sure this will work. But they are pressuring him a bit. Iwo actually copying ahead from those cogs. There's the slow from Dazzle, rank 1. Mystico's here, the telekinesis to lift. Do they have the damage? They actually may. 3 seconds until cogs. The Shadow Wave, yes, one more hit. They actually save it up for Iwo. And there's the first blood on Anti-Mage. Nicely done by Artyk. Very nicely done.
Great control from Masoku right there. He definitely resisted the urge to get that kill, and by giving it to Iwo, you are vastly accelerating his Battle Fury. He's actually going to have almost enough immediately for his
Ring of Health.
Ring of Health right off the bat. So it's actually a very big deal to get Iwo that first last hit.
Cogs just to drain out the rest of his mana, and this is an Anti-Mage who right now has 1 mana. So if they do bring people here, a gank is possible, but the thing is, this Trellin is pretty strong, this Rubik, Dazzle, Anti-Mage. I mean, just the damage that Dazzle can deal is quite substantial.
Yeah, one of the biggest things to consider about Dazzle, though, is, of course, his abilities are all physical. All of it. No matter what you do, his damage is physical. Poison Touch, physical damage that goes through BKB. Shadow Wave, also physical damage and goes through BKB. This is why I came up with my awful idea. But Weave especially is going to be the big thing to keep in mind, because I believe that might not go through BKB. But regardless, there's still a lot of physical damage that he does put out, and that's only complemented by his 3.4 int growth. So even with low farm, later on, if Mihawk has a Desolator, he will still Masoku will still contribute quite a lot of right-click damage, as well as his toolkit, which is by no means weak.
Sure, absolutely. And we do have now Rubik in the solo hard lane, so Mystico, he will find some farm, honestly, and definitely at least levels. I guess they just feel safe that obviously Iwo isn't going to get heavily punished by Clockwork, at least not until Clockwork gets some more levels. So they feel that they're okay bringing this Rubik up, and is Rubik's survivability better
Radiant's
than
bottom
Nature's
tower
Prophets
is
in
under
this lane? I
attack.
feel like he can only farm when it gets under tower. I guess that just feels so safe, plus it's less people to sort of leech XP from the Dazzle, who needs it even more than the Rubik does. Is that what they're going for?
I think it's a tandem of all of those things. I feel like it does give Dazzle more XP, and Masoku desperately needs it. Dazzle is not a hero that can get by with low amounts of XP. That's
Sure.
one. But two,
Eastern?
Radiant's
Mystico
I
is a
think
little bit more.
Smash has
under
this.
attack.
Oh, Mystico is a little bit more survivable.
Wow, he's going in for the
Ush.
kill. Smash actually with 2 stacks of napalm. There's the 3rd stack. Ush is just waiting for the right moment to skewer. He's going to have to do it pretty soon. He's actually getting quite low. 2 more last hits will do it. No, the magic wand is enough. There's the stun out on Smash. He still has quite a bit of length of Firefly and the haste runes. Classic, he tries to cogs him, but he doesn't have the mana. He's actually holding basically nothing on this clockwork. They will steal the illusion rune. Nice flame break there, but in the end, a delicate situation that doesn't really resolve in anybody's favor. They do basically rotate 2 people just to make sure Ush doesn't die and manages to secure an illusion rune. Sorry, go back to what you were saying.
I don't even remember what I was saying. I was just thinking that Ush was about to die and then clutch magic wand timing.
Clutch magic wand timing, no doubt about it. Not even needing to use the skewer in the end.
Well, honestly, I don't know how effective he could have done the skewer. When your turn rate is slowed that much, it becomes a real pain to try to use it.
Yeah, that's a good point. He was facing the right direction there, I think, for it.
Yeah, but if he was looking to get the kill with it, it was not
Oh,
gonna
no,
happen.
no. Yeah, definitely. Not without RP. Mag in mid is kind of like Lone Druid in a 1v1 lane, where before RP you have nothing to worry about, more or less, these days. But after RP, it's suddenly terrifying, because you can win 1v1 engagements.
Yeah, on a big plus, and this is a huge, huge plus.
Dire's bottom
Jan
tower
has
is
24
under
souls.
That's a lot of souls.
He eats souls like candy.
Eat souls like dog treats, because he does have a dog face.
Dog treats.
Dogs
Okay,
can't eat candy.
they can. They just can't eat chocolate.
They can't eat chocolate, you're right. I don't know shit about dogs. I'm so sorry.
Denied.
All the dog lovers on our stream will now be able to get you.
I know nothing about dogs. I understand that they're animals. That's about it. Mystico rotating over. Here comes the Fade Bolt. He's going to telekinesis at the exact right moment because he's very, very patient. There's the lift up. Smash actually goes to the low ground. I guess they don't feel confident in this kill. RP was a danger. That's a very interesting choice. Mystico using almost all of his mana for that gank
Radiant's
attempt.
middle
Meanwhile, the
tower is
DD
under
rune
attack.
swiped by Chim, and that's another rune that Smash doesn't have access to. They're basically going to have to crow this to him.
I'm really just, at this point kind of comparing up Iwo versus Jan because
Yeah.
that's what the game is ultimately going to come down to here. And the problem for Dust is if the game lasts past 30 minutes, Shadowfiend's going to start falling off.
Depends on
Anti-mage
how
won't.
strong his first 30 minutes are, right? Because
This is
Shadowfiend, I
absolutely-
feel, is slightly underrated. If he just gets a ton of farm and doesn't die, he can deal a pretty incredible amount of damage.
Yeah, but that's like saying Carry Pudge deals an incredible amount of
Radiant's
damage.
top tower is under attack.
Well, except it actually happens in games, unlike Carry Pudge.
I'm talking about like right-clicking Desolator Carry Pudge. I'm not talking about like Carry Pudge with an Ethereal Blade and Ag Scepter.
By the way, if our viewers are interested in Carry Pudge, I do highly recommend the the losers bracket finals series between Root Gaming and Artyk that occurred just a week ago.
Oh yes, that was phenomenal. Night picks did not see that coming.
Yeah,
but
it was crazy. Crazy series. Definitely that Game 2 one to watch. One of the highlights, I think, of this tournament so far, just because the utter craziness. And that's really what West has given us. Maybe the team quality hasn't been quite as tier A, but the teams have really tried their hearts out, and we've gotten some fantastic comebacks that I don't think we've really seen as many comebacks in the East Division.
a lot of the Eastern Division games were mostly defined by excellent execution,
Absolutely.
where a lot of the Western matches were defined by basically determinism.
Determinism.
Determinism. I don't care if
Why
it's
don't you
not a word.
qualify that statement a little bit for me?
They want to win, so they do.
That's not how determinism works.
I don't even
I
care.
gave you a
don't know
shot
what-
there, but no.
No, but basically, it just comes down to they make a couple of very big plays, and it's like they come from behind, and no
Sure.
one really sees it coming. Those are like
Absolutely.
some of the best matches that we've seen from the West.
Yeah, I totally agree with you as far as that goes. let's take a look at our levels right now, because Dust, they're still having a little bit of trouble getting these supports where they need to be.
Radiant's
Shim only
bottom
at level
tower
4.
is
Oh, here we go. The Dazzle Shadow. This is actually level 3 Poison Touch, so Classic will be immediately stunned. Iwo is right in there with him, and that's an easy kill on Clockwork. Actually, the final tick, Masoku couldn't give that. He wanted to give it to Iwo, but unfortunately just the damage over time. And this is that aggressive support Dazzle build. Not maxing out Heal or Shallow Grave, just going straight for that Poison Touch rank 3, which does, of course, give you the first little bit of stun on it.
Yeah, there's really no reason to level Poison Touch past 3, though. It improves the damage,
It's damage.
and that's it.
Osh, interesting choice there, actually, using his Invis Rune not to try to get the kill here. Dust are playing very cautiously, and the only issue here is, of course, now 2 kills for Iwo. Well, 1 assist and 1 kill, and he's accelerating towards this Battle Fury very, very quickly. It looks like maybe 12 minutes, 13?
He is about 1,000 gold away, so...
Actually,
maybe
yeah, 12
minutes?
minutes. 12-minute Battle Fury. Not bad at all. Median time in professional games is about 13 minutes, so a minute ahead of schedule, and that'll shorten the clock for the Shadow Fiend to become effective. Meanwhile, Jan, he's making his Shadow Blade more and more common on pretty much every hero, but I almost feel like the reason Shadow Fiend has suddenly become more popular is because Shadow Blade is such a good item all of a sudden, and it's a good item for him.
I will bring this up anytime Shadow Blade is in the discussion. It's a nice damage item. The stats got buffed. That's a big deal.
Right.
Right? And the stats got buffed because the build-up's harder to do now. It used to be Quarterstaff, Broadsword, Recipe. So, there was like a 700 recipe. It was a lot easier to build before. So the stats got buffed to compensate. It's not a good escape mechanism. The second they know it's being built, there will be dust.
Sure, but Shadow Fiend doesn't use it. I think Shadow Fiend, it's not like... I don't know. It's not really used as an escape mechanism for Shadow Fiend. It's more used as a get in there, get hype for Shadow Fiend.
It's not supposed to be used as an escape mechanism on Gyrocopter or Sniper either. It just is.
Sure.
Right? It is an escape mechanism, even if it's not always used that way. It is also an initiation mechanism.
Absolutely.
That said, when it comes to positioning, Blink Dagger is better. Because there's only a few situations where Blink Dagger is in fact worse, and that's when a Radiance is involved.
Yes, that's definitely true, but the initial hit of the Shadow Blade is also not to be trifled with. Because Artyk are fairly squishy, I mean, we saw in the last game just how quickly a Rubik can die. If a Shadow Fiend starts on top of him, gets one auto attack and a couple raises, that's a dead Rubik before he can do anything.
While that is the case, it does mean that you're not really using it to initiate with your ulti instead. So at that point, do you really need points in your ultimate?
I mean, that's certainly true. I think the other thing with the ultimate is, of course, that it can be used primarily to follow up reverse polarity.
Yeah, personally, I don't really know. If he does use the Shadow Blade as an initiation mechanism like you're talking about, honestly, Requiem Soul is not that strong an ability.
It's honestly not that hugely impactful of an ability in general.
It can be,
I don't think it's
but
why you
that's
take the hero. It's a good bonus, and in fact, with RP, it's potentially huge. But if you have the RP setting up for you, you need that Shadow Blade to get in there and get a good RP a little less. And it's more the other things that the Shadow Blade gives you, like good damage, good auto attack initiation positioning, and a little bit of escape.
I think it's 30 and 30 now for... Yeah, 30 and 30. It's actually really solid stats all around, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
But, yeah, I don't know. It's personally, I feel like if you really want to use Shadow Fiend as a gap closer, you need a gap closer. Blink Dagger is your way to go.
Right.
Shadow Blade's not that good of an escape mechanism, so if you get caught out and you have a Shadow Blade, you're probably going to die. Anyways.
Yeah,
right? There's nothing you can do about that. It does help a lot better. Iwo Bath.
He means bathroom, I assume. He doesn't mean that he is taking a luxurious
I
bubble
hope,
bath.
I hope that is bathroom, not luxurious bubble bath.
It's luxurious. He's like, all this farm. I need to celebrate it with with Johnson & Johnson, No More Tears, baby shampoo, and the...
He is preemptively celebrating with a...
That's very preemptive, because even with the 2-0 lead, I feel like Dust could just blow this game wide open at their leisure. Once they get the Shadow Fiend to where they want him to be, and Shadow Blade's coming pretty quickly, in addition to good levels. I mean, they've got level 8 on the Magnus, level 8 on the Shadow Fiend. It's really just their supports lagging behind. But Mihawk is nowhere near where he was last game. I mean, it's 9.5 minutes, and he still doesn't quite have the Midas. At this time last game, he had the Midas already, he had used it, and he had boots, I think.
Yeah, one of the big things to keep in mind though for Dust lineup is that it's primarily magical damage, the bulk majority of it. So Rubik's Nullfield is going to do a lot of work this match.
Well, he has to get there.
He has to get there, but if he gets there, that's a lot of work, especially tapped on top of Spell Shield. Iwo is sort of doing the Burning Anti-Mage. He does the Burning Anti-Mage item build, but not the skill build. It's...
Yeah, he's got the... Oh, he's doing your anti-mage build. Ignore Mana Void because it's such a terrible ability.
Hey, level 6 Mana Void, unless you're using it to stop exclusively TPs, is a god-awful ability. It does no damage. It does absolutely no damage.
So much hyperbole.
Alright, 325 mana is Classic's mana pool. Assuming that is 0, right? And that's not actually possible.
Right.
Assuming it is 0, 60% of 325
Incoming!
is about 190 damage.
Deece, especially at range. Oh, Mihawk, and he actually goes down to about 3 HP before getting healed back up by Masoku. Just a dangerous, dangerous Clockwork Rocket there, and we talk a lot about different Clockwork builds, and he is a very, very versatile hero. How you can build him. Ash actually picked up in the lasso. Here goes Mystico and Masoku. The Shadow, the Poison Touch. Actually, Hook will just hit the Magnus. Not very useful there. Actually, he's going to have to skewer out. He's still alive for the time being. Pops his magic wand. Artyk continuing the chase. 1 more second for the Dazzle. 4 stacks. Yes. There is a dead Magnus, and meanwhile, Poison Touch on Classic. Actually, no Poison Touch on Classic. And he's safe. The Cogs to push them back. Long distance stun from Sna. Nice stun there, actually. Masoku completely out of mana, but Dust can't possibly pursue this any further. And so, not too much done there, other than once again generating space for Jan. Finishes his Shadow Blade, clears up the tier 1 tower. But nonetheless, Ush on the ground once again, and he's gonna have to be careful that this Magnus doesn't die too much. He really wants to get that Blink Dagger fairly quickly to synchronize with the Shadow Fiend timings.
Yeah, it's actually a very big deal that Ush has been dying at all.
Just that one, though.
Yeah, even once, though, it's a big deal, just because that is going to delay his Blink Dagger quite a bit, and that's going to hurt his initiation capacity dramatically, especially when you consider that Smash does have a Blink Dagger.
Right. Wow, yeah, you're completely right, he just bought out for it.
Nah, he actually had that. That's how he killed Ush.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
He just, like, blinked ahead.
Good call.
She just can't turn. When you have 4 stacks, you just cannot turn, so it's like he's got caught in fire. It's like... Gave up. Poor Magnosaurus now?
Magnosaurus. So far, Iwo has actually... Ooh, actually interesting. He takes a detour. No, he sells it back. Yes, alright. He's finishing his Battle Fury. So far, Jan has gotten better farms. Slightly. He's gotten more... Ooh, actually, he's going on Mystico. There's the ultimate right on top of him. He actually cancels the ultimate. Mystico with the telekinesis. And will he actually survive as a result of this decision? 1 more raise will do it. There it goes. A kill for Shadow Fiend. He's on the board. And even with more last hits, the fact is, Iwo is done with Battle Fury. And that's a big deal. Meanwhile, Classic getting picked off yet again. And that's another kill Iwo has participated in. He's got tier 1 boots, the Battle Fury. He picks up that Quelling immediately after Battle Fury just to clear out creep camps much, much faster. And that is going to flip this gold per minute on its head. From this point on, I would be surprised to see a continuing maintenance of higher GPM on the Shadow Fiend relative to the Anti-Mage. If that happens, it means Dust are probably winning team fights.
That's absolutely going to be the case. Shadow Fiend, decent flash farmer. Anti-Mage, better flash farmer. Like, I feel like I should finish my rant on why level 6 Mana Void sucks.
No, that's alright.
I'm totally going to finish it. I was talking about 325 on Clockwork. That's 180 damage. After Magic Resist, you're literally hitting for 150 damage. You could have auto-attacked twice and done more damage.
But it's at range.
But you have a blink on a 5-second cooldown.
Yeah. He has it because he went heavy into blink, though. Well, regardless.
Well, he has it 'cause he's level 10.
It's fine. I get where you're coming from.
He has it because he's level 10. Level 11, then it's actually worthwhile.
Alright, Blade Break actually gets the last hit on Chim. That's very, very unfortunate. I wonder if he took extra tower hits because he was disconnected. But that's a killing spree for Smash, and it's very dangerous to give a big mid player like this a 3-0-0 start because he's almost at 1,000 gold. We'll have to see if he actually decides to issue the tier 2 boots and just go straight for a Force Staff, which would give him even more initiation capability. If he hits Force and Blink before Ush can even get Blink, that's it. That's a Magnus that's going to have a very, very, very hard time actually contributing. Jan, waiting for the right moment. There's the initiation on Mihawk, and this is the good news. Look at this damage. Look at how quickly the Shadow Fiend just takes apart his target. And he's going to continue amassing kills, and that's going to be dangerous for Artyk for a while.
I do feel like, honestly, because of the nature of Shadowfiend, it's better just to leave him alone. At this point, it's better to leave him alone, because if we look at the damage difference between Iwo and Jan, you got 145 damage, 150 damage on Anti-Mage, right, versus 190, almost, 189 damage on Shadowfiend, right?
Right.
So that's literally a damage gap of over 50. Leave it alone.
Radiant's
Not worth it.
bottom
Even with
tower
mana
is
break,
under attack.
it's
Well, they
a lot
decided not
worth
to leave it alone. There's the lasso. Actually, Jan will drop very, very quickly. He's still in the Firefly. Last hit comes through. Smash taking a bit of damage, but Chim, he can't possibly survive here. And the hook shot will miss. That's actually very unfortunate. It looks like Mystico probably not going to walk away from this life. But the Shallow Grave, the Dazzle comes in. Mystico is still alive. The double kill, actually. Ush just using the RP. He ends up settling for Mihawk, and that's about it. Last hit goes out for Classic. Will anybody make it out of this alive? I'm not exactly convinced. Classic with 3 stacks of napalm. The Shadow Poison comes through as well. No, actually, just an auto attack. So Ush, he probably will get out of this okay, but not a favorable trade. Losing Shadow Fiend, never good. Not good at all. He's going to have to build those soul stacks back up, and this is the problem. Shadow Fiend does damage, but he's not nearly tanky yet. He's going to have to get something like a BKB, and even then Lasso will still be a big deal.
That was a 2-for-1 trade, but yes, I completely agree. Losing Jan, bigger deal than because it is Shadow Fiend. Luckily, bottom tower will be denied, so a little bit of a, not even a silver lining. It's like copper lining.
Radiant's bottom tower
Just a
is
little
under
bit of a
attack.
nice bonus, but it does set back Shadow Fiend's damage by quite a bit. Like we were talking about how he had 190 damage, now he's back to 140,
Right.
150. So.
And the net worth of Iwo continues to grow, because of course he hasn't faced any sort of ganking pressure. And we have Blink Dagger up on Ush, so this does give them a... Hopefully they won't have to settle for RPs on 1 in future fights. But Mihawk's starting to get in the picture as well. Still only at 4k net worth, but watch this space, because he does have his Midas now.
Yeah, and once you have the Midas, you just start to get so much farm so much quicker. And when we're looking at Iwo's farm, he's actually getting very, very close to his Yasha already. He's about 700 gold off, so he's actually fairly close already.
Yeah, definitely, and Clockwork building towards Mechanism, but it's going to take a while because Classic hasn't found that much safe space. He's gotten levels, so it's a level 9 Clockwork, matching Mihawk, who has a Midas, but he's just died quite a few times as well. I mean, he
Radiant's
has
top
died
tower is under
3
attack.
times. And they finally get 6 up on Chim, which is actually a big deal too. Smash and Mystico, they're smoked in the Radiant jungle, in the Dire jungle. They want to try to find kills. Dust actually, whether it's through a preternatural sort of superstition or just a decision to rotate, but they will avoid this gank entirely, just heading out towards maybe trying to get a kill on the anti-mage. And this is what they've wanted. They've wanted the global silence. The global silence gives them the tools to kill Iwo. They really couldn't before now. And it's been a while. He's gotten his Battle Fury. Maybe they wish that they had a better start, but with this they can do it. With this, if they get the hook shot, they chain it up with some damage, and they chain it up with the global silence, they can. And that's what they want. They want that anti-mage. They really, really want him. The problem is, a ward has spotted them out from Artyk. The Rockets Iwo, you see him heading towards the tier 1 mid, just playing keep away. And Smash will be right in the middle of this. They probably, actually the Cogs will miss. He is Fireflied up. The Blink Dagger only 1 second away. There's the Impale. Nice timing from Snot here. Actually the RP. So they settle. They settle for the Bat Rider. It's good to kill him, but that means Iwo gets away. They will pick up the tier 1 tower, possibly with the tier 1 tower trade in the middle. Fortification coming out, but the no deny will come here. This is probably a last hit for anti-mage. Yes, it is.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Very good timing, actually. That's also an ultimate orb for Yasha up on Iwo. So looks like Yasha. So that's gonna actually speed up Iwo's farm even more than it currently is.
Sure.
He should be able to fight very toe-to-toe with Shadowfiend at this point, assuming that they have some sort of vision for him.
He's getting to that point, and just clearing out these... That's rough. Clearing out the stacked jungle camp here that I'm sure Jan would have loved to feed on, but instead, every part of the map is now Iwo's personal farming area. And Dust, do you feel that they have to sort of decide to make something happen and continue to go as 5, or can they afford to just play a little more passively, at least for now, to get up some more items?
I feel like Dust's best option at this point is to really force team fights. And I say this, but that's like with a huge reservation. They need to have RP. They need to make sure the clockwork hooks land. None of them have really been great hooks so far. No good hook shots. And if they can make this all work out, that's a team fight easy win for Dust. Good RP on to maybe 2 or 3, preferably with the anti-mage. Good hook shot. And he basically won the fight. At that point, Shadowfiend will have an easy time of actually putting out some damage.
Yes.
Most
right.
importantly, with Presence of the Dark Lord, there's actually a lot of damage. Like, Shadowfiend now does a lot more damage than he did 1 level, 2 levels ago. So,
Definitely.
it's actually a
Shadowfiend,
big difference.
I mean, he's a good level scaler. Once you get that Presence of the Dark Lord, it's always the last thing leveled, but it's hardly a bad ability. I mean, at its max rank, it's a Desolator on everybody, right?
It's a Desolator. It's a Desolator. Yeah, it's 6 armor. If you stack that with Assault, Cuirass, and Desolator as well, you're actually looking at 17 armor reduction coming out just out of one hero.
Like Dazzle Ultimate at full capacity.
Yeah, Dazzle Ultimate will be able to cancel out a lot of it. The problem is Dazzle Ultimate takes time to reach critical mass.
Yes.
Shadowfiend will reduce your armor by 17 just by being near you.
Right.
Well, by 11 by being near you.
Right.
17 by right-clicking on you.
But this is once he gets the Cuirass, and I feel like you're right. They can't wait to just pick up a bunch of items on Shadowfiend. Maybe if they had hit level 6 faster on Silencer, and they were sort of getting ganks on Anti-Mage all the time, then they could wait. But in this case, I feel like the main thing they're waiting for is probably Mechanism on Clockwork. So Classic will hit this at about 450 more gold, a little bit earlier than we're going to see Masoko hitting it, because he sort of just started building it up. And that'll give them at least some couple minutes of advantage that they can try to use to generate team fights.
Janet's actually grabbing an Ultimate Orb, so he's actually looking at picking up a Mantis style instead.
Okay.
So, while a viable option, I feel like Assault Cuirass gives him a better mix of tank and damage because of how armor scaling works. Mantis style is definitely not a bad option, though.
So there's a bunch of nice things about Mantis style. I feel like the debuff shucking might actually be a big deal in this game, especially if Mihawk goes for something like the Orchid again and tries to use it on Shadowfiend. It'll be very nice to actually be able to just remove that immediately as well as deal damage.
But it also, like, dispels nice debuffs like in power.
That's true.
And in that kind of situation, BKB would have been preferable anyways. That way...
Yeah, I think he'll go BKB sooner or later. I would be shocked to see Jen not go for BKB. Fadebolt coming through. They're just pushing down the top. So, yeah, I mean, like you said, they want to sort of generate fights right now. They don't want to just let Anti-Mage farm forever. They want to put a lot of pressure on Dust. If they could sort of do things like... Sorry, they want to put a lot of pressure on Artyk. If they could get a tower advantage, that would be huge. The problem right now is they don't have a tower advantage. Jan, actually, he's coming in. He just wants to sort of warn Iwo that you don't get free farm just yet, son. Like, you just don't get to clear out this tower. I will come, and I can mess you up in a 1v1 engagement, and I think he showed there that he can. That auto attack damage is actually pretty scary coming out of Shadowfiend.
Yeah, it just comes down to the natural agility gain from Iwo's Anti-Mage is just not enough.
Ooh, nice Shadowblade. Very good Shadowblade timing. He actually completely saves himself from an impending Nyx Assassin.
Yeah, and it even marks the map, so Anti-Mage know that's Snaw.
Right. The tower spotted the Nyx Assassin out.
Yep, and he's going to get spotted by the Vision, by the wards on the way out. So
yeah, he ran out of Vendetta timing. This is only a rank 1 of Vendetta, when the time that it actually lasts for is still fairly limited. And I feel like an issue for Dust is, if they don't do their sort of 5-manning soon, the level deficit on the supports will start to get really painful. Oh.
It's not, this isn't a Metzal, this is a Lincoln Sphere.
For Shadowfiend? Yeah, so it is. He gets the recipe. Interesting choice. What do you think about this?
It stops Lasso, it stops Telekinesis, and it stops Poison Touch. It stops Mana Void.
That's definitely true. Smash! He's looking to initiate. He actually lassos up Nyx Assassin, takes him to the high ground. I think he's just going to deposit him there. Yes, this is a stuck Nyx Assassin actually sitting inside of Firefly. He will Vendetta. It's probably safe. The mechanism activated from Clockwork. But what this does is completely neuter the possibility that Dust... Flame breaks him back down to the low ground. That's charitable. That's nice of Smash. But nonetheless, this means that Dust can't get that gank off. It completely stops it dead in its tracks.
Yeah, honestly, I think Artyk definitely favored there, just because the lasso cooldown is so short. It's honestly not that big of a deal to pop it like that.
No.
I feel like they could have gotten a little bit more for their time if they just left him up there, so that way Snow would at least have to spend the gold on a town portal scroll. But
sure, I don't know if they were paying attention to the fact that he wasn't holding a TP.
I think he had
one. Was.
Yeah, he was. He walked back with one. I don't think a courier delivered him anything, so...
Yeah, so he had one. The other big thing I want to talk about. Blink is up on Rubik. And that makes it dangerous to RP if it's not including Rubik. You end up with the sort of the Bane's paradox, what we can call it, which is Bane has Fiend's Grip, but Fiend's Grip is the easiest ability to steal, so you kind of have to Fiend's Grip Rubik, but he's usually the last person you want to Fiend's Grip. And it becomes a similar situation with this RP now that there's a blink on Rubik. You don't really want to not take a good RP just because you won't catch Rubik, but if you don't catch Rubik, the odds of him stealing it and turning it back on your team are high, and that would be potentially cataclysmic. Classic completely catching out Mystico here, by the way. Probably a kill. No! Shallow Grave once again coming in with the heal will actually save him, and this Clockwork's now in a lot of trouble. Nice Flame Break for Smash. This is a dead Clockwork. The last hit does go to Dazzle, and Sna and Chim forced to disengage because, of course, this is 3 supports, and now 2 supports. They really can't do much. Jan comes in to mop up, and there's nothing to mop up. Artyk haven't pursued this because they know they don't have to. They know that they can just give Iwo more time, and he will get scarier and scarier. And so another death for Dust. They aren't quite cracking this Dazzle code yet. Mystico close to dying, but just Dazzle comes in, saves him, Batrider comes in, generates a kill.
It's funny because off the top of my head, there are only 2 counters to Dazzle Shallow Grave. Diffusal Blade is one of them. You don't build Diffusal on Shadow Fiend. So that's not going to be an option. The second one was pick Axe, and unless you're a Navi, you don't pick Axe.
Ancient Apparitional? I mean, nothing that they took.
Ancient Apparitional, actually, I don't think can.
Oh, okay.
Anymore. It might have been able to.
Thought it...
I don't remember
I
how
don't think
it's
you're
coded.
right. It probably doesn't. Regardless, I mean, these are heroes that they don't have access to. Now, they do have the option of like locking down the Dazzle, so...
They do have that option. If they can get a good RP and just focus fire him down before you can even cast any spells, that's a big win. But then Anti-Mage is having fun now that all of those spells are blown on Masoku instead of him.
Now the fact is, this is a Dazzle that has found the levels. It's a level 9 Dazzle. He's gotten that 4th rank in Poison Touch just for damage. They can see just how confident they are. That if they can kill Heroes of Dust early on, they don't need the maximum healing potential. It's still only a rank 1 Shadow Word. Not the common thing you see on Dazzle, but they are just using him for that low cooldown Shallow Grave and the high damage Poison Touch. DG, smoke into the Roshan Pit. This is a risky move, but it's potentially high return. The Linked Sphere is done on Jan, and this will give him a tremendous amount of survivability when you add the Aegis onto it. And they need something. They need a scale tipper, because you can see the net worth differential between Iwo and Jan is now 4k and growing. 240 last hits up on the Santa. Mystico.
Well, that is Roche up. It looks like top tower is going to get heavily pressured by Iwo, and Fort is down. So, honestly, Iwo might be able to finish this off before there was even any rotation from Dust.
I mean, Manta Style gives Anti-Mage a lot of split pushing potential. Yeah, this is gone. Quick tower pickup for him. Not even hard for him to get that.
So, honestly, Iwo is getting extremely large. He could be going for Butterfly next. Butterfly fantastic against Shadow Fiend, but he could also go for Heart to give him a little bit more of a well-rounded HP pool.
Sure.
Especially
what do you think is best?
I think Butterfly is going to be better in this given situation because of the null field plus the spell shield. He's actually going to be taking almost no damage from any magical damage.
Right.
I think it gets his resist up to like, let's see, add 20% on top of that, so 20% of 40 is 8. So he's actually looking at 70%. I feel like I did my math wrong there. No, that's right.
I want to talk about Artyk's vision again, because again they've locked Dust into a vision trap. Artyk knows so much of what's going on Dust's side of the map right now. It's very, very comfortable for them, and they know that Iwo is safe, because if he weren't safe, they'd have an early warning system for it. Ush with the invisibility, could he make something happen here? There is a sentry here, one of the many. They know, oh, the skewer fish doesn't quite land. There's the hook shot, they do catch Mihawk out with this. The battery still comes through. Weave has come out from Dazzle, they look to try to stay at the fight with Mihawk. There's the Shallow Grave. Actually, the global sound's coming out as well, and RP just to sort of deflect the TP. And Ush might get 2 kills here, but is this even worth it, really? Dazzle just continues to steal out. Masoku standing for a while. Mihawk buys back, jumps back in, trades off. Meanwhile, in the middle, Iwo is starting to get kills. Chim in a lot of trouble here. There's the Manta Style. This will be 2 kills for Iwo. And maybe even the 3rd. Jan in a little bit of trouble here. A couple more last hits will do it, and he still has the chasing capacity. Jan, he's Shadow Blade. There's no vision. The one spot they don't have vision of, Shadow Fiend escapes, and the problem is 3 plus a buyback, but traded for the entire team. I don't know how I'd feel if I were Dust about this.
I definitely favor Artyk here. You're talking about you lost Ush, you lost Chim, you lost Snod, you lost Classic. Really, Jan getting out alone? Jan has already reached the point where his damage is no longer what it used to be, basically, in comparison. He actually hits less hard. His right click is less effective than Anti-Mage's before Anti-Mage has mana break calculated into his damage output.
Now, he does have Empower to calculate in, though.
The Empower does tip the scales a little bit. It brings up Shadow Fiend's damage up to about 250. With the Shadow Blade, you're looking at a first hit of 400 damage, which is sizable. Anti-Mage, on the other hand, is looking at 200, almost even, with the 60% of mana breaks. You're looking at another... What? Oh, man. I'm tired. 36 damage. 36 damage on the mana break, so that's 240-ish damage. Actually, Eagle Song now. Oh, wait. Like 270-ish, 280-ish damage. Over a long fight, honestly, edge goes to Anti-Mage.
Sure. I don't know. I'm concerned for Dust in this situation because I feel like Anti-Mage is just... It's starting to spiral out of control. If you look at the gold graph, it's just... It's not just that. Mihawk is getting decent farm as well. I mean, he's got his next Midas activation. He's up to about 4k gold himself. So he could start adding some onto this, and it just becomes more and more dangerous for them. While Dust really... The situation for them isn't going to materially change in the next while. I mean, they actually have to use this Aegis in the next 2.5 minutes. But even with the Aegis, I'm not 100% sure that they're actually favored in a fight. They have to sort of try to find the pickoffs, but it's tough. It's a difficult situation. Here comes Jan. He's Shadow Bladed. Will they catch up Mihawk? They need vision. They don't have it. The gem is up on Classic, but they don't know the angle for the hookshot. It misses. And that's a sad sight to see. They do not find the hookshot. They don't find the initiation. Mihawk walks away with his life and his 4.4k gold coin purse. And Iowa is just on a totally different side of the map. He still hasn't died, and he has his full Battle Fury and 2k gold on top of it.
He has a full Battle Fury. He has a full Butterfly.
I meant Butterfly. Sorry.
He is literally... He's not going to be able to get killed by Shadow Fiend.
Shadow blading in, but he actually... The ultimate won't do much. He actually cancels it out. The global silence, but what will this accomplish? It looks like Artyk are just fine to back out. They may catch Mystico. They do actually pick him up. Wrath of Nature coming through, not doing too much in the way of damage. Here comes the lasso. It's up on Ash. RP is still available. I don't think Smash can get the skill. This may actually not be the greatest execution from Artyk in this fight. Meanwhile, Jan, Iowa is really oppressing him. Excellent sprout positioning. Oh my god, they've zoned them out effectively. Chim goes down. The Aegis Gen will come up. He tries to pop the Requiem again, but unfortunately there's not a positioning for it. Nice spike carapace from Snot. There's the Requiem after all. Mihawk on the ground. Decent fight so far. Snot still kiting. Still effectively kiting Iowa. He does walk into it in the end. Iowa dodging some stuff out with the Butterfly. He probably makes it out of this no problem. They may try to get Masoku, but no. There's no mana for the Clockwork Hook, and he lost the rest of the mana with the Manta Illusions of Iowa. So Iowa stays alive, but I feel like Dust, that wasn't a bad fight. Maybe even with a better timing of the Global Silence, they could have even won that more convincingly.
Had the Global Silence been on point, they would have actually probably been to kill Iowa. Iowa was actually only able to really run around because he could blink. So you keep him from blinking, he dies. It's just kind of like a fact of life. That said, fight still favors Artyk because they were able to get this tower very easily. This mid tower here. Draw on the map. Mid tower here. They were able to get a lot of kills. They lost supports and Mihawk. Jan got a lot of gold. He's actually very close to a Heartman if he chooses to go for it. He has over half the gold.
You think he'll
actually goes straight BKB. He buys out for a BKB. On Iwo.
Oh, on Iwo? Yeah, Iwo bought up, which I think is good. There's a lot of magic damage you still have to contend with. He wants to solve his remaining problems.
Like crit, there's a huge math thing. Any situation where evasion is included, even if it's 10% evasion, MKB will be better every time. No situation comes up where unless you're literally talking on magnitudes of like 1,000 damage.
Well, I don't think the crit is just for killing anti-mage.
Even so, MKB's damage output is not so far behind that of a Daedalus that it makes that big of a difference.
The other thing is Chrysalis, he might just... The thing is MKB, until you actually finish the entire MKB, there's a big leap from the component items, whereas Chrysalis is one item slot and it already gives you a crit. There's an initiation onto Mihawk, meanwhile a lasso, so two separate things happening at the same time. Sna actually is picked up. There's the Global Silence. Iwo and Mihawk are on the high ground. Ushi gets the RP on Iwo and Mihawk. Maybe they'll kill Mihawk, but the problem is Iwo. He's got his BKB activated. Jen, you get the pick off on Mihawk. Meanwhile, Sna is on the ground. Classic at very low health. Smashes back in. Oh man, that was actually a pretty big mana void, picking off two more, and Jan is forced to flee. He has 8 seconds left for a Shadow, but I don't think he makes it out of here. There's the Shadow Fiend on the ground. Ush the only one to escape. 4 for 1. Mihawk bought back. They're back in here. Artyk, I think they're going on a one-way trip to the high ground. This anti-mage, 23,000 net worth. Here we go. Artyk, the siege begins. Is there buyback up for Dust? They do have buyback on Jan. Problem is, only 18 souls to come back with. There's the buyback. 10 seconds for Silencer. 1 second for Sna. Here he comes. 13 seconds for Clockwork. He actually does have Hook. So maybe if Artyk overextend. Maybe if they overextend. The problem is, will they? They may go for another tier 3. Here they go. Dust will get the opportunity that they want. The Impale misses. The Skewer gets Iowa, but they don't have an RP. Iowa taking a bunch of damage here. He does actually get Sounds for the last word, but he walks out safely. Smash still in here. He walks out. Artyk, they're going to just peel off, having secured the first set of racks. And that is the first big advantage of the game, and it's a big one.
Yeah, for Dust to come back from this, and this is the real problem for the Shadow Fiend pick. One, every time you die, you come back weaker than before. Like, other heroes, you die, you come back with less gold than before. This one actually gets weaker. You become less effective because you die. There's no other hero that's really impacted the same way.
There are a few heroes who reverse snowball as hard as this guy does.
Yeah, it's like you're snowballing, and then your snowball ended up in a desert, it's just melting. And that's basically the time here. It's gotten to the point where the snowball is reached in a desert. Shadow Fiend no longer hits as hard as he used to. He hits for a total 300 damage. Don't get me wrong, that's a lot of damage. Anti-Mage also hits for 320 damage.
Boom, there it goes.
Right, that's the real difference. Shadow Fiend is past his prime.
Yes, definitely. They need some sort of huge teamfight victory, like a huge one. Smash actually gets tough immediately upon jumping in. Is this the opportunity that they want? And I mean, Batrider does have buyback. He did fail that initiation pretty hard. I mean, it's fine for them to take some chances here. It's fine for them to even make a mistake. But it's still, we have DG, they're pushing into the mid, they get the tier 1 finally. Actually, Hookshot will land, they get the RP on 2. The problem is in the backcourt, I was just ripping them up. They may get a kill down here, they may even get a couple. Mystico in a bit of trouble, he actually does manage to walk out with the Stolen Vendetta, there's the kill. But meanwhile, Iowa already with 2 kills, he gets Classic, actually Classic juking into the trees, nice work there. Iowa now chasing John, 1 second left for the Shadow Blade, he may make it out of this. The problem is he's dusted up. The Scythe from Mihawk, they probably get him here. And that's the only one they need. Jan actually walking away, but the problem is 4 down. 4 down and really just Mystico on the ground otherwise. They bought back the Batrider, they got him back in, and that's all that they needed. Here we go. Artyk, they know that there's no RP for 60 more seconds. We do have buyback for Magnus, but is it enough? I'm not quite sure, because they are pushing up. They're pushing up into the second set of Raxes, and we have the core setup. Iwo, he's going to use his Manta Style. He has a Hyper Stone just for a little bit of extra attack speed.
AC.
Probably AC eventually, but they might not need it. We are going to the next one. Artyk, 2 in a row. Match point, and they started one down due to the winner's bracket advantage. Right now, looking like the stronger team.
Absolutely. It's just it feels like the same problems came up from before, except different kind of execution problems. These were mostly execution problems. Shadow Fiend could have been a good pick. They didn't group up early enough, and they lost too many early kills to the bottom lane against Iwo and Dazzle, against Masoku, way too often. When your classic Clockwork dies 2 times in less than 10 minutes, not only have you lost the lane, you lost the lane substantially. So, it's a real problem that it ended up getting overpowered so much.
Yeah. I don't know. What do they... I feel like the strategy wasn't 100% there. They windmill slammed the Shadow Fiend, but then they didn't get levels on Silencer to find pickoffs on Anti-Mage. Do you think it's more to do with the draft, or again more to do with the execution?
I feel it's a little bit of both. I don't know. I don't really like the Shadow Fiend pick, personally. I think Shadow Fiend's a fairly weak hero overall, especially when he gets like past the 25-minute mark. Because that's when opposing carries start getting bigger items, and they scale usually better than Shadow Fiend does. So.
Right. Alright,
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Nah, he doesn't farm as fast as like an Alchemist or an Anti-Mage does to justify his weaker scaling, so.
Absolutely. Alright, and that'll take it to the next game. So Artyk, 2 in a row, they start 1 down, and now we're up to 2-1 match point for them. Netolic Raid Call Pro League, Grand Finals West Division. Are Artyk the team? Are they our champions? Or will Dust be able to pull it back and take it to 2-2 in a decisive Game 5? Either could happen. Right now, Artyk looking very strong, but Dust, they're not so far away from being able to take it back. I'm excited to see the next game, which will be starting in just a couple minutes. Don't go away, folks. Thanks for watching.